the void between the genders, the masculine and feminine, was really not that big of a deal in Reading, my hometown. It was just like a country town, and so, men and women largely dress in a very similar way, behave in a very similar way. It wasn't really until college when that void became much more apparent. I'd always felt the dysphoria, that discomfort, with the gender that I was supposed to present as, but it was in college when that really became more difficult to manage. So in the first grade, I told everyone that I was half girl. That was my way of reasoning around it, because it didn't make sense, and it was just very confusing. And then with time, that becomes more difficult to say, because people will interpret it and project more negative assumptions upon you. So around 4th, 5th grade, I stopped telling people that. In the 6th grade, I definitely knew that I was different, and for a year, I thought I was really worried. I was brought up very evangelical, conservative, and I identified that way. And so for a year, I was terrified that this concept of being gay, this might be my reality. And so eventually, I realized that I was attracted to women, but, and this is probably around 7th grade, attracted to women, but that I also identified with them in a way that went beyond just kind of more of an empathic and more of an actual identity with my religion and the way that I had been brought up. That was absolutely intolerable. And so I was in rejection of that identity for years, all the way through high school. And at that point, I came to the realization, which I now disagree with, that this was a sin, but everybody sins, and that God made me this way, obviously. I was unable to change it, because I had tried that. And so I was just going to learn to live with it, and that was... And at that point, I was able to reconcile both my identity with my faith. Not in a healthy way, but in a way that was, less unhealthy. West Coast gender is nothing compared to East Coast gender, where the segregation is stark. And that was the point when I realized in 2009 that I wouldn't be able to do this. And my original plan was that I was going to go along with it for 10, 15 years and wait until society moved. And then I would come out and just be like, oh, well, things are safe now, and I'm going to be me. DC was what taught me that I couldn't do that, and taught me that the only way that we would ever get there is through doing the legwork myself. And so to that end, that was the only way that I could justify coming out, actually, was that I needed to put it in a larger context, because my own need to present and to be who I am, and to be present as a woman, was probably outweighed by the intense social pressures for me not to do that and not to present in that way. And so the only way that I could really prepare myself for all of the challenges that I would face the minute that I chose to deviate from those cis norms, my way of rationalizing that out was in a larger perspective, which was seeing this as part of a larger social movement, and that my actions today could have positive ramifications for the generations to come, and that children in my same situation in the future would be able to express themselves and to be who they are, and also just to destigmatize femininity.